Hey everyone, Sycra here, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to draw open mouths, because I said I would a few weeks ago and I forgot, so now I'm going to do it. Alright, so I've already covered a bunch of times how to draw mouths that are closed, and I talk about, you know, the face shape, and you've got the eye sockets and the nose and the mouth. But when it comes to open mouths, I make a distinction between two parts of the skull. One is the cranium, which is this whole top part. It includes the upper teeth, the eye sockets, and the nose. Basically everything from here, got the temples, everything except the lower jaw is, or the jaw, that's all the upper part, right? So all this, you've got this, and then you've got the lower part, which is just, you know, the jaw. And so what happens is it's the lower part that moves. Now, where I think mistakes happen is that the movement of the jaw isn't considered on an arc. So when you have this, let's just simplify it, okay? So you have this is just going to be a circle, and this is going to be the jaw. It's just this, okay? For now, we're going to simplify it like this. And let's say that this is where the ear would be, and this is where the eye would be. Now, what's happening, and actually that jaw is more curved like that, but what's happening is this jaw, and let me just move this, make two of them. This jaw moves, right? And what I sometimes see is people treat it more like this, with a screaming mouth or an open mouth, whatever it is. They tend to just lower this and increase this, and let's say this is his nose, or maybe it's a her. This is her nose. And so when it's closed, maybe it's just a smile like this, and when it's open, it's like this. But that's not how things work, because when you open the mouth, what's going to happen is, yes, this is going to move, but it moves in an arc like this. So like that. So now watch. You would get this happening, where I suppose things to keep in mind are that if you had a straight line going down vertically like this, this is pretty straight when the mouth's closed, and it doesn't mean that it's straight, it just means that, because of course you've got different shapes. You could have a mouth more like this, or one that's more like that, you know. But it's more like this can still be going straight, but then when you open the mouth, this chin is going to go inside. Something else that happens is the mouth sort of moves forward, or the jaw moves forward a bit. It goes like this way and down, but this is pretty negligible. So the jaw is actually doing something more like this and then down, like goes. So this is, let's say this is when it's closed, it comes a bit forward as it goes down, more like that. So it's not going to be that severe, or it's still pretty severe, but it's not going to be like way back here, for instance, but it's still going to shift this thing. So the chin is further back. So you have to keep that in mind. The chin's going to be further back, whereas see in this one, it's all still lining up. So I think that's the big difference, or the biggest issue I see, is that's number one, that because the jaw moves at an angle and it's following an arc with the pivot right here, doing this, going down like that, it's not going to just be that when you open your mouth, you can just make it so you've got more space down here. Doesn't make sense. It's got to be that you have more of this angle, right? Okay, now there's two other important things. One is to remember the cranium. So when we draw mouths, and let's say you understand the jaw thing. So yeah, you're doing the jaw right. Got the jaw coming down, whereas normally maybe it would do something like that. Now let's say it's doing this. It's like, okay, so you've got that, and you've got your eye and your nose, and you've got this angle coming down, right? And let's just do, because I often see the problems in, I mean, I see it in more realistic stuff as well, but less. I mainly see the problems in cartoony or manga styles, and what I'll see are like, okay, so you get this, that the mouth is at an angle like this, right? Because this went like that, or the chin went in. I'll see this where it's like, okay, now let's put in the teeth, and so you put in the teeth and you get something like this, and this is wrong as well. And the reason it's wrong is because see how the teeth are here? If we were to draw this, like continue this, as if we're drawing the skull, because the skull, like the head, just, it's a skull underneath, and then you've got muscle and fat and skin on top of it, but it's bone underneath. What this is saying is that the mouth is doing this, like the teeth are doing this, they're going at an angle and they're inside this. But remember, the entire top part of the cranium, that doesn't change, like that's not going to move. It can tilt up and down, but it's one piece. So when I say it can tilt, I mean, like if you have the jaw here, the entire head can do this, but the individual parts aren't going to change. So because of that, because we have our nose and we have our top part and this is all fixed, the teeth are always going to be normal in the top area, right? Like they're always going to be aligned with the rest of the face, the top teeth. It's when the jaw opens and it goes down, it's the lower teeth that are going to be angled. So that's the other thing. It's like the lower teeth are angled, but the top teeth stay the same. So if we're to redo this, the more correct thing would be if the teeth were still just behaving normally like this, at this angle, right? And I'm doing that anime mouth on the side thing. If you wanted it to be more realistic, you can do that too, with the mouth, and you have the teeth still going this way, and then you have the lower jaw, or the jaw, sorry, I keep calling it the lower jaw, doing this. And so you'd have a situation more like this, where these teeth are at an angle, like so, but these ones are not. They are still aligned as they would be in a closed mouth. So that's the second thing. And then the last thing is the whole perspective cylinder thing. So if you think of it like this, how am I going to do this? Let's say a cylinder. Okay, got a cylinder. And right now we see the top of the cylinder, right? So this means that we are looking down on it, right? We can look down on the cylinder. So our horizon is up here somewhere. Now, if it was more down, like we cut this in this world, you would see more of that oval, right? This is smaller, this is bigger. Same thing's going to happen with the mouth. As you tilt the jaw, right, you're going to see into, and this is not a side view. Who did that? On the side view, I meant to do it in the front view. You've got a front view, right? And as the jaw goes down, like as the mouth opens, what's going to happen, let's just make this a skull, is you're going to get this situation where you see the lower teeth and they're going in. Because this is another thing, I guess there's a few more things to keep in mind. You've got to remember that the teeth go inside quite a bit, right? And so you see inside this mouth, and then you have the top teeth that don't move. But these bottom teeth, you have the tongue in here, they go inside, and just like this thing, as the jaw opens more and more, we see more into this. Like here, see, we only see this much, and then here we see more, because this is now moving into perspective. Like you have to think about the perspective. So you have this situation. Now the head could also be doing this, where it's the top part is tilted, right? And then it's the bottom part that's doing something like this. And in this case, or let's say you're looking up at the mouth, then it's those top teeth that you would see. So in this case, if we're looking straight on, like our eye is here, right? This person's pretty troubled being this close to this skull. But what we would see is, like if we're looking at a front view, we would see this head, and all this is bent back. So you'd see this is the nose, this is where the eyes are. Not gonna make them look like that, but anyway, and then this is the mouth, and so we would see into the mouth, and this part would all be curved, right? And then you would have maybe this part. So the bottom teeth are more straight now, and it's the top teeth that we see going inside, and then you'd have the tongue. So it'd be something more like that. So this is because in this situation we would be looking this from like this angle, and we're looking towards this person. That's a bad placement for this person. Let's say they are all the way over here and they're looking at that skull, right? And I guess this is a way of seeing it. Okay, so yeah, I've got these horizontal lines, right? So these are, imagine these are all like magic vision lines. This horizontal line is sort of like this horizontal line for the jaw. So we see that as flat, because this is flat, but this is hitting all these parts because this is open, so we see all that open. And something really common that I see is people don't consider this whole roundness to the mouth, like, because we've been doing it, so there's a side view or a front view, but neither view really is showing, especially with the front view, because with the side view, sure, you can see how deep this mouth goes in, but with the front view, the problem is if it was a skull, we would see it more. If we're looking at people and they were just skulls, we'd see it more, but they're not. They've got, you know, skin on top, so we see the lips, and the lips tend to be fairly straight across, something like this, right? So we see this, and it makes it hard to see that, yes, this mouth goes really deep in, like all the teeth are going deep inside this face. But the best way, I think, to see that is just bread, right? Because you get bread, it can be anything. Let's just say we have a slice of bread, and you take a bite out of it. What's going to happen? You're going to probably see a shape like this. Like, well, okay. Not just like that, but sort of like that. Like a simplified version. Like, let's say this is a slice of bread. Something more like that, right? Where it really does go in a lot. Your teeth go in a lot, and then you have your forward teeth and your back teeth. So that's really important to keep in mind when you have open mouths, because let's just do a 3/4 view, and let's say this person's got an open mouth. So, you know, the first thing I do is just like normal. You know, we've done heads in different angles, so I'm not going to cover all that. But that's this thing of, okay, everything's the same, but now I have to remember you got your jaw's opened, so this is going to go down at an angle. And then the teeth are going to remain the same on the top view as they would if the mouth was closed. And then you're going to see into this mouth. But remember, you see into it. Like, and what I like to do is shade this part. So you get things like this with this sort of dark triangular shape here. This, like, what is it? Something like this. You've got that. Right, so remember this, these teeth go inside. All right, so pretty much that's it. Maybe I can go over some simplification methods real quick. So let's say we had like an anime face. Well, the same rules apply. Now with anime, they sometimes do this thing, especially in anime, less in, I guess, I'm not sure in manga if they do it a lot, but they'll do this thing where the jaw actually doesn't open, but they'll do faces like this, like, wah, and then when it's closed, it's the exact same thing, right? But even in these faces, you've got to consider, like, treat it as if the jaw was open and show those inside teeth still following that thing, where it's as if we still see more of the bottom of the mouth, we still see those teeth curving around. So I think this is the way it gets, manga stuff gets away with it, and cartoon stuff, is that you're not, like, you're deviating from reality. And of course the reason they do this is because it's less work, because you don't have to animate as much stuff. Because, like, for Western animators, if you actually went ahead and you open the jaw as you should, or as they do, what you have to do is, now I have to draw this entire part, like all this area I have to redraw. But if you're just doing this and you've got an anime, then it's much easier, because I can just draw this mouth on its own layer doing its own thing, and this guy could be, you know, having a bunch of different expressions, but all this stays the same. You don't have to redraw all of this, so it's much easier to do lip sync. And then, not to mention, the mouths just tend to open and shut like ba 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 ba. Like, you'll have like this mouth, and then you'll just have this mouth, and they keep changing. And so it makes things a lot easier. But what I'd like to get at is, even, like, I'm not saying this is wrong, as you shouldn't do this, or this is so bad. What my point is if you are going to do this, if you are going to simplify the character, remember that you have to base things off reality. And real quick, I need to talk about this because invariably it shows up in the comment. When I say base it off reality, I don't mean you need to learn how to draw photorealism. So reality is something we study from, and realism is just, you know, making it look like the thing in reality. So for instance, let's say this was a photoreal tree, right? It's not, but let's say it was. Okay, so studying from reality would be like, I'm looking at this and oh, okay, so that's how the leaves are and whatever. And then I could exaggerate it, like, oh, I'm gonna make my tree like really crazy, and but it's still got leaves and it's still got a trunk and the trunk still supports it, but it's, you know, it's based off this, which would be reality. So this is reality. Whereas realism is more like, okay, I see this tree and I'm gonna really try and like nail exactly what this particular tree looks like, you know? And that's not bad, but that's not what's required. I didn't come that close. So, but let's assume I did. Like, that's what realism is. This is realism. But you still want to learn from it. For instance, you don't want to, so let's say this is your stylized version. Stylized. You don't want to be doing something like, let's say you don't look at a tree and you're just guessing, and this is going to be dumb because I have to do it at an example, but I use something like a tree. But let's say you're thinking, okay, so what does a tree look like? Well, you know, I think it's got a trunk like this, and looks kind of like this, and it's kind of like this, right? Like, that's a tree. And maybe this person didn't study from reality, and that doesn't really look like a tree. That's not what, that's not what it looks like. So the point is, you don't need to do this. You don't have to study realism to end up getting a style, but you do need to observe reality. So, you know, you look at it and you think, oh, okay, I'm going to study. And the thing is, why this does help, though, the realism thing, is because if I'm looking at this and I'm only looking at it, I might think I know something. I might think like, oh yeah, well, you know, it's got a trunk and the trunk's like this, and then it's got like some fluff over here. But I might have gotten the proportions completely wrong, whereas when you have to, you know, really study it and try and draw what you see, you have to think like, oh, okay, well, I think it's like this. Oh, wait, no, the trunk's not that long. It's actually this long. You're spending a lot more time analyzing. And I mean, it's possible that you could just spend more time looking at this, you know, but it is a good exercise to do this. So realism isn't bad, but it's not necessary. And it's definitely not the same thing as when I say, you know, you need to study from life, or you need to study from reality. That, I mean, you must become a photoreal expert at drawing. You must be one of those people who can just make something look perfectly realistic. I'm not saying that, but it's not a bad skill to have. But really, the main point is study from reality. Don't study, you know, what you think it is, and only that, you know, because you might be wrong, or you might think. Usually what it is it's not necessarily that you are wrong in the main things. It's that you're missing little details. Like maybe you really look at a tree and you notice things like, oh, you know, well, yeah, it has a trunk and it has branches, but I didn't notice how, you know, all the branches sort of split up, how, or maybe you don't notice, you know, how thick the trunk is, or you don't notice how leaves actually work. You don't consider like, oh yeah, there's a branch that comes forward as well, so I've got to consider things coming towards me, things going behind the tree, like this branch might be coming from behind, and instead you're only focused on what you think a tree is. And often when we do this, we tend to revert to our childish symbol seeing thing, where you think of an eye, and instead of really drawing an eye as you see it, like maybe the eye looks something like this, whatever, you got an eye. Maybe it looks more like this, or even something crazy, like maybe it just looks like this. You can't really see the forms because it's in shadow. But instead of this, you revert to, oh, draw an eye. Okay, here's an eye, and here's another eye, and here's a mouth, and these are symbols, right? So studying from reality helps you break away from this, but no one's saying you've got to study realism. So anyway, sorry for that rant. It's just something I really felt I had to cover, because I keep getting the comment of, oh, do you mean I have to learn how to draw really realistically when all I want to do is draw anime and comics and stuff? It's like, no, it's not what I'm saying. But I am saying it's a good starting point to learn your fundamentals and learn from reality. And anatomy and physics and all these things, like, they're just sciences. It's like, learn your sciences. So anyway, mouths. This was about mouths. Make sure you're curving your teeth when your mouth is open. And hope this helped. And thanks for watching.